maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, that said that 82% of the American people now believe that we have a professional political class of both parties in Washington, D.C., that is more concerned with the protection of its power, prestige, privilege, and position than on solving problems for this nation and moving ahead. I agree with them. I think ours was intended to be a citizen government. I think it's what by, for, and of the people means. And so I think we need always citizens to step forward and serve their nation for a time and then return to private life. When I was a little girl, my mother said to me one Sunday morning, "What you are is God's gift to you, what you make of yourself is your gift to God." And those words landed in my life because I didn't feel very gifted, honestly. But they seemed a promise to me that I had God-given gifts somewhere and I needed to find them, and they seemed a challenge as well, that I needed to find them and use them. What I have learned over and over and over in my life is that everyone has God-given gifts. Everyone has potential. Whether it has been in my business life or leading 2 nonprofits or the policy work I have done, the truth is most people have far more potential than they realize. What every single one of us needs is someone to take a chance on us, someone to give us a helping hand when we need it, so that we can fulfill our potential. I did start out as a secretary. I typed, I filed, I answered the phones for a little 9-person real estate firm. And I truly know, having lived and worked all over the world, that it's only in this nation that a young woman who drops out of law school because I hated it after half a semester, goes back to work doing full-time what I had done part-time to put myself through college. It's only here that a young woman graduating in the middle of a deep recession can start out typing and filing and answering the phones, go on to become the chief executive officer of the largest technology company in the world and run for the presidency of the United States. That's only possible here. And I think it's possible here because our founders knew what my mother taught me. Our founders knew everybody has God-given gifts. They knew that everybody had potential, and they founded a nation on what at the time was a radical idea. It is a visionary idea still, that here in this nation, everyone has the right to fulfill their potential. And that right comes from God and should not be taken away by man or government. That's a powerful idea. And so while we have not been a perfect nation, and while we work every day to become a more perfect union, the truth is more things have been more possible for more people from more places here than anywhere else on earth. We have come to this pivotal point in time, however, where I think it is clear that the potential of this nation and the potential of too many citizens of this nation is being crushed. It's being crushed by a huge, powerful, bureaucratic, inept, and indeed, yes, corrupt government in Washington, D.C. You see it in all kinds of ways. You see it in the webs of dependence that we have woven people's lives up in, so that we do not encourage them to move forward and find and use their God-given gifts, but instead we encourage them to stay tangled up in those webs of dependence. You see it reflected in the number of businesses we're destroying every day. Not the big businesses, they're doing great. Crony capitalism is alive and well, because the only folks that can deal with big government are big business and wealthy and powerful and well-connected people. But if you're small, if you're powerless, if you're the family-owned farm or the family-owned business, you're getting crushed. We see it in the ineptitude of the federal government. I mean, truly ineptitude. I know that sounds like a strong word, but honestly, under Republicans and Democrats alike, how long has the Veterans Administration been a stain on our nation's honor? How is it that the Office of Personnel Management couldn't manage to push back against a Chinese cyber attack? Listen, I chaired the advisory board of the Central Intelligence Agency for several years. I've advised 2 secretaries of defense, a secretary of state, a secretary of homeland security. We have known without a doubt for at least 12 years that the Chinese were trying to hack into our federal government databases and our federal government systems. And yet somehow the Office of Personnel Management, even though it was warned by 2 Inspector General reports to shut down vulnerable systems, didn't do so. Now we have 18 million people's most personal records in the hands of the Chinese. That, ladies and gentlemen, is ineptitude. And it's also true that every government agency has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger for 45 years. Nowhere is this more clear than in energy. We should be, we could be, we must be, we will be, if I'm President of the United States, the global energy powerhouse of the 21st century. And the potential that we have to lead the world in energy production, to create all those jobs, to innovate, the potential to do all those things is being crushed by what? Politics, policies, regulations. Is being crushed by government. And so I think we now need a leader in the White House who understands what's required, not just to win the job, and this will be a fight in 2016, not just to win the job, but to do the job. And I think to do the job now requires really 5 things. 1, an understanding of how the economy actually works, so that we can get it going again. 2, an understanding of how the world works and who's in the world and how we should respond to our adversaries and support our allies. 3, an understanding of how bureaucracies work, because when you have a giant, bloated, inept bureaucracy in every government agency in Washington, D.C., we gotta get that under control. 4, an understanding of how technology works, because technology is an incredible tool to re-engage people in the process of their government once again, but it is also a weapon that is being used against us when the truth is we have the most sophisticated technology in the world. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, I think it takes someone who understands what leadership is. Leadership requires, sometimes, in tough times, tough calls, for which you're prepared to be held to account. But leadership at its most fundamental is about challenging the status quo. It is what leaders do. And in the end, leadership is not about the acquisition of power or title or a big office, nor is it about the preservation of those things. Leadership is about serving. And in particular, leadership is about serving by unlocking the potential of others. And now I believe we need a servant leader in the White House who will unlock the potential of this great nation. So thank you so much, and I look forward to the Q&A.